despite the fact that people mainly know me for Cantaloupe, which was a big pop hit, there are experimental tracks on every album where I sort of pushed the rappers into different areas that they might not normally do.
Killa Kela Podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com.
THTC, the UK's leading ethical streetwear label. Organically grown and ethically built garments from hemp, organic cotton and other sustainable materials. 2019 is their 20th anniversary year. Join me with THTC as a Killa Kela Podcast sponsor celebrating music, social activism, hemp and street culture. THTC, eco-fashion redefined since 1999.
Come on, ma. Please.
Syringes, water fighting this. We love food for just to hit plenty. Oh look, oh no, watch them on them brain out. 30 to follow.
Killa Kela Fortified featuring Patois. Available on all good music platforms now. AG Dentistry. In my line of work, not only does what I do with the mouth get reviewed, it's also my instrument. And it's beyond important to me that my teeth get the professional service they deserve. The AG family provide expert dentistry, whether it's NHS or cosmetic. They're the finest in London. Head over to agdentistry.co.uk for more information on treatments and prices. AG Dentistry. Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela Podcast.
Yes, big shout out to our sponsors, my good friends at Graffiti Kings. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Killa Kela Podcast, serves your fucking right. We are live and direct, Central London. Central as you need to be. You know what it is, all things music and street culture, yeah? Subscribe, do not sleep, I repeat, do not sleep on my repeat. Listen, man, I'm here with a Don in the UK scene. Early doors, 1990s, right up till now. Providing some of the most freshest, soulful, funkiest, hip-hoppy, most abstract music that then toured the world with new projects on the way. This is my man. This is Geoff Wilkinson inside the place.
Hey.
How are you?
Good to meet you. I'm good, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, man, good to see you. I mean, it's an understatement what I've just said there. It's like you've got so much pedigree.
Wow.
You've got more pedigree than Crufts.
Is that just saying I've been around for a long time?
Nah, that's a legend. The legends are different, you know. Legends. We're talking more kind of stature, you know, because you still do it. You move.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, you never lose your enthusiasm for music, do you, really?
No.
I don't think so. No. Keeps you going. Yeah, it's good to be doing something different. Yeah, obviously new projects, like you said, coming out.
Yeah. I mean, for those of you that are out of the loop, you know, and you haven't jumped on Google right away, so, like, Geoff was part of the uniform that was Us3, original, like, dons from back in the day, certainly people that I grew up with. Later to be experienced with my mate, DJ First Rate, Egg Scratch Pervert, and was it Monkey Mafia he was part of? Was it Monkey
He was indeed, yeah.
Yeah, bad boy DJ, champion DJ, and he was like, come on, jump on these shows. So the next thing I was with you guys at some random events and whatnot, which is awesome.
When I first brought First Rate into the band, I think it was about 2001, so we'd already been doing quite a lot of touring with Us3, already travelled around the world several times. And when I told the musicians I was bringing a DJ into the live band, they were like, what? What's he going to do? You're a DJ. And I was like, you need to see this guy. He's a proper turntablist. See what he does. At the first rehearsal that we had, he literally had a queue of the musicians behind him who wanted him to teach them what he was actually doing, because he really did use the turntables as an instrument, which was brilliant.
Believe that. And he's still, like, highly regarded within the
I'm sure.
Yeah, DMC world. And
yeah,
whatnot,
absolutely,
you know.
yeah.
Legendary. I remember he used to do loads of stuff, and for him to fit with a band like your guys, it made total sense. But let's bear in mind, though, at the time when you decided to do that, there weren't a lot of bands taking those high risks.
No, not really, no. But
DJs.
I'd seen him perform a couple of times. I'd seen him perform with Mr. Thing at the Jazz Cafe, that was a turning point for me when I decided that I wanted to try him out in the band, to use him in the band, because they had songs, and they were doing silly dance routines and clapping and turning around like the Temptations or something, which was absolutely hilarious.
That doesn't surprise me.
But the
actually.
skills, the actual skills they had were phenomenal as well. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to feature the turntables as an instrument within a band that was stocked full of jazz musicians, basically. And that's the way it was. And everyone in the band had their own solo spots as well when we did a live gig. And Paulie had his first rate, had his own sort of scratch solos as the band was steaming away, and it worked. People absolutely loved it.
You must have had like some sort of like electric buzzer for every time he scratched too much on the tunes or something. They must have been like, sorry, I'll stop. I guess he's a beast when he sees those things in front of him. It's like next thing he's on them.
He is, but he stayed within the confines of the band because he knew he was a part of the jigsaw, basically, which was great,
Yeah. He always talked fondly of it, and I remember seeing you guys live and how sick. Like, for me, it was like not only was it seeing a band that I'd grown up with come to life, but and be affiliated in a loose sense, but to see you guys like perform it and do the whole thing, that was an early shot for me. I was like, wow, like that's how you reinterpret stuff live.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how
well,
we
we didn't know how we were going to do it. But when the first album was made, myself and Mel Simpson, my partner. Obviously, the first album was made with old Blue Note samples, so it didn't occur to us that we were ever going to do it live. We just didn't think about it. No one was.
So you need like quartets.
At that time,
sections.
there wasn't any hip hop live bands. There was probably Stetsasonic were doing it live, and that was it. So it was only because of the success of Cantaloupe, really, that we were kind of pushed into it a bit by both the record company and our manager. And we thought, okay, let's try it. It's not going to exactly be the same. And the first sort of incarnations of Us3 were kind of semi-live, and we had some of the samples running at the same time. But it just became more live as it went on. And like you said, it became a live interpretation of the albums.
That's right.
So it was they worked in tandem with each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, it certainly felt that way. And like you're saying about samples, it's like one of those ones, isn't it? The cart does come before the horse. It's like, okay, how are we going to do this now?
It worked though, but then gradually, I moved away from the samples. Like the second album had quite a lot of samples on. The third album was like half samples and half live playing. And the fourth album ditched the samples completely. After that, I used the musicians that I had on stage in the studio,
recycling,
and it was kind of better. It was nicer working with live musicians than dead ones, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true. And then because like first we start with the samples, and then you go to the live show, and then you regurgitate it back into it kind of feeds into itself.
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
it?
all about music. There was a lot of bullshit that was said about sampling in the early 90s when people were saying that it's going to put musicians out of work and stuff. But that's not the experience of the guys that I worked with. No. They got to travel around the world, play on lots of different albums.
Money as well, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Kept everyone paid. People doing the samples got paid that were of the samples.
Exactly, yeah. Obviously all the samples were cleared and everything, and I met a lot of the original artists that we sampled as well, which was really cool, and they were always really complimentary as well.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was really nice when you meet people like Herbie Hancock, for example, who we obviously sampled on Cantaloupe, and he was really quite intrigued by the whole process.
What did he say, though? What did he say? Was he like,
loved it.
Big up,
He'd heard it because Bruce Lumval, who was the president of Blue Note, had sent him a copy of it, and he thought it was really cool. He liked it. He'd heard it before it came out. So to get that sort of okay from him, was really cool. So we knew we'd get some kind of criticism. We thought we'd get a lot of criticism from the older jazzers, but we didn't, to be honest, when it came out. I think maybe one of the reasons why was because we did it respectfully. All the original artists got paid who we sampled, plus the fact that we had a lot of younger British jazz musicians playing on top of it as well. So the idea was that it wasn't a purely retrospective thing, just because of the samples. It was also forward-looking because we had lots of young jazz cats playing on top as well. Yeah. So there was elements of both.
Very cool. Retrospect being the right word, there was certainly like a period of time, which Cantaloupe, I think, kind of begun the cycle of kind of new backpacker era of hip hop coming in. You know, you'd have like Beastie Boys, obviously. They played a part in that, and Tribe Called Quest. But then there was like the Jurassic Fives.
Yeah, exactly.
People that slowly started coming through the scene, and I think Cancel It was definitely like within.
I think it helped. I think it maybe pushed people forward a bit. It was funny what was going on in America at the time, because at the time there was a huge backlash against the whole gangster rap thing, and there was all this Tipper Gore kind of. That's when they brought out the stickers on the album, parental advisory stickers and things like that.
Was it PMRC? Was that what they were called?
That's right. Yeah, you've got to remember kind of that the sort of social context that it was in. That there was a sort of radio backlash against that. So, you know, maybe we benefited a bit from that.
Yeah. Well, your thing was definitely the music, and that's the way I've always perceived your work. It's been like, it's all about the music. So what started in the studio, you weren't expecting, you know, you wanted success out of it, but you weren't expecting to be touring for the next.
Cancel It was the demo that got us the deal. We did the original demo in March 1992, and it was exactly 2 years later, in March 1994, that it hit the top 10 in America, which is an awful long time when you think about it.
Yeah.
That was a serious sleeper.
Wow, yeah. A slow burn.
A slow burn, yeah.
Damn.
So, yeah, it was kind of, by the time it came out, it felt a bit old to me, kind of, you know, because we'd done it 2 years ago, but it was obviously new to a lot of people.
Yeah, something that I think most artists, particularly nowadays, as you know, like things just fly out the door, and before they're old 2 weeks later. It's like people have this perception of like get it out while it's hot kind of thing.
Yeah, well, everything's sped up now, because we're talking about before everyone had the internet, basically.
Yeah.
It's that long ago.
Yeah. And moving on into that world, like you kind of grabbed the bull with both horns with this new Wild project. Right?
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, I've had a few years out. I decided to stop Us3 in 2014, basically. By that time, we've been going for 20 years and been touring a lot, which keeping together an 8-piece live band for 20 years is no mean feat, travelling around the world.
These guys have got to eat, so they're going to know where they are, you know.
I've done 9 Us3 albums, and the previous year was like it was the 20th anniversary of Hand on the Torch, the first Us3 album coming out. It just felt like a good place to stop, really, and have a bit of a reassessment.
That's crazy amount of volumes of albums, dude. That is insane.
I like the idea of having a sort of not a legacy or whatever, but a catalogue, back catalogue. Yeah,
I swear by that, man. Like, I'm the biggest Motorhead fan, and I tell you what. Now
Motorhead.
Yeah.
We met Lemmy once. I don't know if
well,
First Rate ever told you that.
No, tell me the story.
So he recognised him. Oh, we'd played. I think it was in Brno in the Czech Republic. We'd done a gig there, and we were in the hotel late at night. And he literally walked in. There was like a big heavy metal festival going on at the same time or something, and Motorhead had obviously played there. We were just sat having a drink. There was a few of the band members and the promoter, and in walks Lemmy and one of the band, and just starts playing pool in the bar. First Rate was kind of nudging me, going, "Who's that guy over there? Isn't he famous?" I looked at him and was like, "It's Lemmy." So we went over and had a chat with him. He was really cool. He was really nice.
Yeah, I've met him. He's nice.
We'd played a lot in Poland, and I know you've played a lot in Poland as well. And we were talking about sort of Eastern Europe, and he said that year, I can't remember when that was, that must have been about 2009, 2010, something like that. He said it was the first time that they'd played in Eastern Europe, which I was really shocked about, bearing in mind how long they've been going.
Yeah, man. That's crazy when you think about it. Again, it's their legacy, right?
Yeah, but he was kind of discovering a new audience as well, which was weird.
Yeah. Do you think, like, just off subject for a second, do you think it helps when there is already like a ready built scene to kind of dip your creative projects into? You know, because metal, very similar to hip hop and reggae, and you know the ones we know. Once you kind of fit your sound and your style without being too abstract, you can literally plug in and you're like on the ride.
Yeah, I think if there's an audience that's kind of already there for you, yeah people are used to it. I think that's why often the pioneers of a certain genre, if it's something new, are quite rarely the ones that benefit from it the most of all, because when you're doing something new, it's often seen as something a bit radical and people don't know whether to get into it or not. But then once it opens, exactly. Once it opens out and people accept it, then the next wave that come in tend to be the ones that clean up.
Yeah, isn't that the way? Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? And also being around all these different festivals and whatnot at any given time. I mean, especially with us3 back then, you must have come across a bunch of different acts.
Yeah, well, we used to get booked back then for a lot of jazz festivals as well,
nice.
which was pretty radical for the jazz festivals a bit then, and it's obviously not now. But it's all about getting across to a new audience, really, and kind of trying to change some minds. We were trying to change some jazz minds about how they thought about hip hop, and change some hip hop minds about how they thought about jazz too. Just wanted to contribute to that, really.
I can hear in your new track, your new music, the Wild Project. There certainly is an influence of hip hop. There's certainly an influence of soul. There's when you talk about tackling a new audience, where do you see what Wild's doing? Where do you see that in the tapestry at the moment? Like your new project.
Another voice. I wanted to have my say really within it. It's interesting what's going on with R&B at the moment. I actually think R&B is a bit more adventurous than hip hop at the moment.
I'd agree, and I would say there's a strong influence of that.
Of course, of course.
More so than I was expecting, for sure.
Okay,
it's good.
I think now maybe I was trying to think about this before I came here. Think about why is that happening? Because I thought you'd ask me about that, and. I think a lot of the younger producers who are in their 20s who are making the sort of more futuristic kind of R&B stuff that's out at the moment.
Which is sick. All the soul action stuff and all that sort of thing.
Sort of it's kind of electronic but really soulful at the same time.
Real kind of J Dilla clunk, but it's got that soul groove.
And kind of like ambient-y kind of keyboard sounds, which I really like, and then really sweet vocals on top.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a great combination.
It really is. And
but I think
people get down with it in the clubs as well. They get down
absolutely. But the guys who are making that stuff, you got to think about what music they were listening to when they were growing up. And really, R&B started getting a bit more radical in the 90s and early 2000s when you had producers like Timbaland.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who completely changed the game in that genre, really.
Everything.
Yeah.
And you can hear his production. You know it's him straight away.
Absolutely. I mean, you can hear his influence in a lot of stuff that's current now. And he's still going, he's still putting things out as well, which is great. But he was seen as being very radical then, the things that he was doing with people like Aaliyah.
Aaliyah,
And I
Missy
think that
too as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know what it kind of... What was it? Tweet. Do you remember her?
Yeah, of course.
It's got that
first
flavour.
album is... I love that first album.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's so sick. But that's what this stuff's kind of sounding like, right? It's got that
All right.
thing,
That's a good compliment to
yeah,
have.
Man.
I think when I started doing this, when I decided I was going to really go for it, for the Wild album, make an R&B album, and started looking for vocalists, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine being able to attract the kind of level of vocalists that I have attracted, that I've managed to find. I just found like an unbelievable seam of talent on the underground, really.
Wicked.
And they're all female singers as well, I've used. I've got 5 female singers on there, 4 English and 1 American.
And MC. You got MC.
Yeah, Akil Dasan, who was featured on a couple of Us3 albums as well, is got a little guest spot on one track, but it's mainly about the girls, this album.
For sure. What was the name of the
Kelly Agbowu. There's 4 tracks with her. There's one with an American singer called Lisi LaFontaine, who I think is going to blow. She's from LA, but she just moved to New York and is working on some new stuff. I've got an open dialogue with her about producing some more stuff for her. She's planning to coming back to London later this year.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that.
She sounds burlesque, LaFontaine. Very good.
who else? Liz Jai, who's on it as well, who's a singer that I've known for a while, who lives really near me and has worked as a backing singer for people like Emily Sandé, Joss Stone, done big tours with that. So she's got a really cool pedigree.
Fire.
Yeah. Courtney Bennett, who's got a real kind of typical London style about her. She's really different from the others, I think. She's got an interesting story, which I should let her tell at some point as well. But she was signed to a management company in LA for about 7 years and got stuck. But she's worked with some seriously big people. She's done songwriting with people like Ryan Tedder in the States. But she hasn't really had anything out. You know, she's been criminally under-recorded. So, you know, when I found her and talked to her about her own experiences, I really wanted to use her on the album to give her a leg up, hopefully, you know, get some stuff out. And the other singer is Robin May, who's a singer who's got quite a lot of experience in the West End in theatre shows.
Wicked, yeah.
Which is great because she's singing every night on stage. So for a singer to come to the studio and sing and you don't have to tune anything up is just bliss.
They like theatre singers, right? It's funny you say that, you mention that, because my girlfriend, she works in burlesque and she does all theatre stuff, right?
Okay.
So all of her mates, so they come round here and they're singers, predominantly singers and dancers, right? And choreographers. And I tell you what, man, some well-versed, know how to sing, know how to push it, literally
know how to perform
just
as well.
know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get better than that, man. That's seasoned.
That's experience, that's experience. That's what it comes down to. Stage experience, really.
Yeah. I love it. And, you know, you can't beat it. I guess, like some they say it's like the most, the rawest, like, position you could ever put yourself in as an actor or singer is like nightly in a theatre where it's just like you're totally exposed to it all.
Of course, yeah. Well,
I mean,
it's the same thing as being on stage doing a gig, isn't it,
that's
really?
right.
When you're in front of an audience of hundreds or thousands of people, you've got to perform. They've come to be entertained.
So in theory, I mean, actually, this moves me on to my next segue. See, I'm Segway man now, you see. So, like, just moving on this one, because obviously with Us3, you was like, that wasn't entirely your plan to go live. So it must have been in the back of your mind with this project where you've been like, well, we all know what happened last time. So is the live thing, is that going to be like a thing for this?
Well, I've said no. It's not my intention to do that. It's quite time-consuming, juggling kind of band members. You know, as I said earlier, I managed to keep an 8-piece live band on the road for nearly 20 years. You know, when we went out, there was 4 crew. I don't have a manager either. I haven't had a manager for over 10 years.
No one needs them. You don't need them, do you?
But it's a lot of individuals to juggle, and you spend kind of a lot of time doing that. And now I want to concentrate on being in the studio. I'm a lab rat, really. That's me. I'm in the studio. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, deep down, I'm a beatboxer at heart. You know, it's like with the restriction comes the creativity. Give me the mic and let's have a go. You know.
Yeah, sure.
I think we all fall into our defaults as we come out the other side of a particular project. Or like, hold on, what was I here for? Okay, I'm doing this.
I like to think you grow into yourself.
But you DJs as well. So, like, is there any reason why you couldn't take it out on that kind of?
It's possible now because again the technology's advanced so much that it would be quite easy to do. You wouldn't have to do it all live, I guess. Right. Coordinating 5 women to come out on the road might be a bit trickier. So with those 3 albums, I tended to just have 2 vocalists and then usually took those out on the road, touring whatever album we were touring. To go out with 5 different vocalists would be a challenge.
Yeah, you kind of just want one live one, innit?
So, like we said, at the beginning of Us3, I didn't think about doing it live, and I'm not thinking about doing Wild live, but who knows what might happen.
Yeah, man. Brace yourself.
For the next 20 years.
But there is like a pocket for this scenes now, you know? Like, God, I could never imagine, like, back in when I first started, I'm so old now, but you know what I mean? It's like, never imagined, like, the beatboxing to be so, like, out there. Like, with Wild and the way that the the scene is, the soul, that rare, dark, you know, pulsing kind of soul, you know, it's so rich and it's so out there. And like, I guess when you was making the album, you didn't even foresee that, because it's coming over like last 2 or 3 years.
It is growing, but actually probably the biggest unseen influence on this album has been my 16-year-old daughter.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Right. Talk to me about
my
that.
biggest critic.
Talk to
She
me about
never really liked anything that I've ever done. She's obviously grown up for a whole life. I've been making music, and she, you know, even from a baby, I've got pictures of DJ First Rate holding her as a baby next to the microphone when we were in rehearsal rooms from years ago.
Oh, that's cute.
So she was always around the band and had come to gigs and stuff when she was little. So she's always been around music. But now she's a little bit older. She's got her own taste, you know, which is not influenced by me. So she's her own person, what she likes. And I've kind of been a bit influenced by her, by what she likes. Because as she's developed into a real R&B girl, probably because that's the music that's happening now, she wants to be where it's at. Listening to what she listens to has influenced what I'm making.
You're lucky she didn't get into any gabba or punk or something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
At least it's in the same kind of...
I doubt whether I'd have been influenced by that, to be honest.
No, I don't think you would have been either. Is she aware of this? Is she aware of
Yeah,
that?
I've told her, yeah. She knows, yeah. And
she's feeling it. She's like, yeah, I get this.
This is the first stuff that I've made that she really likes. To the extent where she's made I've made lyric videos for every track on the album, which will be on YouTube, and she's actually made all the videos for me.
That's sick. See, in-house.
In-house.
Cottage
Keep
industry.
it in the family.
Yeah, too right, man. In this age of spinning plates, you know, for a living, it's often neglected the real core set skill, isn't it? But you have to have like people around you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, she's grown up with a phone in her hand, kind of, and technology is like an extension of one of her fingers, kind of thing. So the great thing about kids of that age is they're not scared of the technology. The techno fear doesn't exist for that generation. You know, they get hold of something, they just work it out. They don't read a manual, they just work it out, which is great.
Yeah, it's great. We used to do that though. Do you remember? Like when you get your VCR for the first time when I was about 8 or 9. It's like, all right, I know how to do this. I guess it's the same sort of principle. It's intuition, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very intuitive to the next generation.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I see these kids like super young, like my friends' kids, and they're just like playing on the iPad at like 2.5, 3 years old. You know, something insane.
Yeah, what will they be doing in 20 years' time?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But like back to the team thing, you know, in this climate, like with right, let me throw it out there, right? Management's great, A&R's great, all necessary, but not essential. What would you reckon about that statement?
You just touched on something that's really interesting, I think, at the moment, where you just said A&R. I think one of the reasons I managed to find such fantastic vocalists is that major labels are not looking for them anymore. The way that major labels do A&R now is that they're only interested in signing up somebody who's got a huge social media following across all the platforms, who's got a certain amount of listeners on SoundCloud. They're basically saying, you do all the work, and then we'll talk to you about signing you. But then I just think, well, if you do all the work, you don't need them.
You just get a bank loan.
I think they're missing a trick there, because A&R used to be about using your ears, really. And I think they don't do that nowadays. They're looking at sort of algorithms, or they're looking at numbers.
Because here's the thing with the number thing is that can be lied, that can be made up, you know.
Yep.
Take a photo of yourself next to, a private jet with, draw yourself out, $8 grand and hold it in front of the thing, take the shot, and then go home, put the money back in the bank and get back into your one bedroom, you know.
I think the point is, if someone's got to a certain level on their own, even when a major label steps to them, they're going to be thinking, do I need you? Which is a whole You know, it's a whole new generation of people that don't want to be signed to major labels. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But also the fact that they're not looking at the people who are just making music in their bedrooms and putting it on their social media and they haven't got big followers or whatever. There's an incredible amount of talented people who are doing that.
Yeah.
It's much easier to find those people if you sniff around, if you have a good look around, you know. Yeah. And I like to think that I was always quite good at finding rappers for the Us3 albums. I always had different rappers on each album. And found them just through having connections, largely in New York. And I kind of like looking for people who I think are sort of potential collaborators or people to work with.
A&R in itself, you know?
Yeah, it is really. But the fact that majors aren't doing that now has opened up a whole new level for either independent labels or producers like me to find those little gems. You know, which is what I was looking for.